useful. And I hope, Laurel, does this answer part of some of your questions? I think it connects to some of it, doesn't it? Okay. All right.
I have a question, Dr.
Yes, please.
You say they cannot understand. I think it's Vygotsky or somebody said you can teach anything to anybody at any level. How does that apply here?
That is true. That was a Vygotsky quote. And what you say then is kind of goes back to what I said earlier, is that you can teach it, you just have to use the level the kid's at and the method the kid needs you to teach it. For example, in the pre-operational stage, which is I just gave this example, a kid is not ready in most cases. They can't move past the egocentric. But you can use their own ego and their own personality to help them understand how others feel. And also to help them get along with others. Right? I'll give you an example of this with my two boys at home. And they, they fight. I mean, a 4 and 5-year-old, they fight. They get mad at each other, right? They have their moments. But one of the things I've been trying to get them to do, and I've been doing it similar to what I just did with the two of you, is by doing something to them that they just did to the other child. I keep doing that. Sometimes you keep trying the same thing over and over. If it's working, that means it's nothing wrong with doing it again and again. If it's not working, you should try something else. But they were improving and improving. The other night, okay, they're playing with the train sets, and Derek, who's probably about as egocentric as you can get, to be honest with you, he's a great kid, but it's always about him, right? Derek comes downstairs, and he's got this new train set out that their Auntie Julia just bought for them, and they got all these cars out there, and Derek comes downstairs, and he's got all of them. And David is like, kind of a bit like Bennett, he's willing to let it go. And David just took all the cars, because there were a few cars that weren't there, and David could see that Derek wanted to play with the train, and really was into, I'm going to play with this train, nobody else. That was Derek's mode of thinking. And so David kind of stands back, and he takes all the cars that are there, and he puts them all together, and the locomotive, and he even takes the second locomotive, because we've got 2 locomotives, takes the second locomotive as the engine of the train, takes the second locomotive and hooks it on, and gives all of it to David. Or sorry, to Derek. And Derek is playing. He's playing. David's sitting there watching. And Derek goes around the track a couple of times. Then he looks at the train. And he looks at David. And he looks at me. And he kind of looks at me like this, He looks at the train again. And he looks at David. And David's just sitting there. And you know what he does? He takes the train and he pulls off a couple of cars. And he pulls the locomotive off. And he puts the locomotive and the cars together. And he pushes them around the track to where David's sitting, and he goes like that for David to use it. Okay? Now I was blown away by this. Actually, I was totally blown away. I just kept quiet. I didn't say anything because I didn't need to say anything. They solved the problem themselves. Okay. Now what I'm saying is that that's basically the same as what Vygotsky's talking. It's the same idea. Now within that you have to use the kid's understanding of where they are. But it is true that you can still teach them things they shouldn't be ready for. But you have to remember to go back to where they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a good point. Okay. Let me have a look here. Any other questions? Great questions, by the way. Love the more questions I get, the better. It means people are at least awake. Maybe even understanding some of what's going on. So that's always a good thing. I'm being a bit sarcastic there, so hang in there. All right. Let me see. There are a whole list of things here, and I don't necessarily want to go through them all. Just to touch base, and you can read through some. How are we doing for time? Are we sort of closing in on
10 to 9.
Oh, 10 to 9? Oh, okay. If it is 10 to 9, I'm actually just going to say the list where they talk about different things. Please read through some of those. We've already touched base on a lot of them. Achievement, motivation, self-concept. I just want you to be, I'm going to mention one more thing about self-concept. I'm going to come back to that. But there's sort of a list: gender, special interests, exceptionalities, physical characteristics, peer relations, teacher perceptions, and so forth. Please look through that. Valuable information. I don't want to go through all that right now. I always tend to go in the order of what you need more than what you. And so when we get to the end, if we don't have time for it, that's okay. Because these are sort of less critical, but useful. So maybe look through some of them. I do want to mention one thing in closing then, and I apologize that I've gone a little longer than intended. So we'll try and clean that up for you next week. But self-concept versus self-esteem. Please understand that there's an important difference and try to realize, because it is important in how it plays out with students. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Okay? If you feel good about yourself or you feel bad about yourself, if you're happy, if you're excited, if you're down, and your self-esteem changes all the time. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I love my wife dearly, but if I just had a big fight with her, I usually feel pretty rotten about myself. Because I'm usually questioning myself. What did I say? What did I do to cause this? How did I hurt her feelings? And I feel like I'm kind of a rotten person. Right? Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's how I feel. So my self-esteem is in the tank. If I've just had a real good class, and I thought people learned, and I thought we got some good value out of it, and I thought people were interested, and so on, I might feel really good about myself. So your self-esteem goes up and down all the time. Your self-concept is more solid. It's still fluid, it's still changeable. But your self-concept is, I can do this, or I can do that. It's what you see yourself as being capable of. What you see yourself as being able to do or not able to do. Right? I mean, my self-concept as a nuclear physicist is almost zero. Okay? Because I probably would blow up half the classroom if I tried to. Because I have no idea how to combine chemicals and nuclear physics. I'd be dangerous. I don't even know enough to be dangerous. I'm just dangerous. It's that simple. Right? Because I don't have any knowledge about it. My self-concept as a teacher is reasonably high. I'm not a star, I know that, but I'm reasonably good at it. You know? So that's my self-concept. You have a self-concept for everything you do. I have a self-concept as a father. I have a self-concept as a husband. Right? And everything you have, every one of you has a self-concept as a student, as a daughter, or a son. That is how you see yourself in the roles that you're in. It's not the same as self-esteem. Because it's changeable, but not as quickly. Your self-esteem can go up like that, or down like that quick. Your self-concept changes slower. It's important to understand, because if a kid has a lousy self-concept, you have some work to do to try to help them. If they I can't do math, I'm stupid in math. If that's your self-concept, and you're a math teacher, probably what you're going to do to help them with their self-concept will be more important than whatever math you're going to teach them. Does that make sense? Okay, is there any final questions? And I do apologize, I went longer than intended. I don't mind people telling me about time next week if that's an issue. Okay, questions? Yes?
However, self-concept and self-esteem are not totally unrelated topics. They
No,
are related to each other.
Absolutely
They feed
not.
into each other.
Absolutely, they're linked. Yes, a very good point. They are clearly linked. Okay? Because high self-esteem people tend to believe that they can do more things.
Yes.
So it tends to be that the higher one's self-esteem in their belief about themselves, the higher is their self-concept in the roles that they have, whether it be father, mother, teacher, right? And the reverse is also true. So exactly right. They're connected, but they're not the same.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Okay? Any final questions? Thank you for your attention. You guys have a great week, okay? Remember, working on the blog, you're doing a great job on that so far, so thank you. All right.